welcome back to my channel. My name is Molly and I do mental health videos, and today I'm going to be talking about the misconceptions of self-harm. You are somebody that self-harms, that knows somebody who self-harms, that has an opinion on somebody self-harms, or who has an opinion on self-harm itself, then this video is definitely for you, so keep watching. So just before I start, if you're wondering what is self-harm and you don't know what I'm going on about, self-harm describes any form of harm that is caused intentionally by the person themselves. Now, if you're somebody that self-harms yourself, then you will understand the amount of stereotypes and misconceptions that are out there, and I am here in this video today to try and bust some of those misconceptions and get the real facts out there. Number one, self-harm is attention seeking. Now, I can't explain how angry this makes me. If you are somebody, I just want to try and break down self-harm. So somebody is intentionally injuring or harming themselves. Now, if that was just for attention, there's so many things people can do for attention, especially nowadays. Why would somebody choose to intentionally harm themselves if there wasn't a deeper reason behind it? Now, even if you're somebody and you know somebody who self-harms and you're sitting here thinking, oh, I think they definitely did it for attention, they were trying to show me, they had it on show, they wanted people to see. First of all, they might be looking for some sort of attention from somebody because they need help and they want somebody to see that they're doing this because that's their only way of communicating that they need help. Or it could be because they don't want to be ashamed of what they've done. We shouldn't be ashamed of scars from mental illness. Self-harm is a result of mental illness or struggle. It's not the cause of mental illness or struggle. So somebody self-harming, there is nearly always going to be a deeper rooted reasoning behind that, whether that's a mental illness that they're struggling with, whether it's something going on at home, in their life. Nobody injures themselves for no reason, because if you think about it, it's literally going against all your human instincts to injure yourself or to hurt yourself. So it really annoys me when people say it's just for attention, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about self-harm and a reason why a lot of people don't ask for help. Number two, only teenage girls self-harm. Again, another dangerous misconception. Schoolgirl, the idea, the image of a schoolgirl is the only girl that self-harms is ridiculous, and it's really damaging to people who might be struggling. There is no, self-harm doesn't discriminate against gender or age. You can be any age and you can be any gender and be self-harming. And I think particularly for older people who may be into adulthood that are struggling with self-harm, feel a greater deal of shame because it's almost as if they're not supposed to struggle with this because they're now adults. But there's no other illness or symptom of an illness that we would say somebody is too old to experience. So it doesn't actually make sense, but there is this massive stigma around people who self-harm. And also in men as well, a lot of men struggle to talk about self-harm because there's this idea of self-harm is just for young girls, and it really eats into that whole man masculinity, men's men. So, and if you are a man or a boy that's self-harming, you should not be ashamed to go and get help. Self-harm does not mean that you are weak. It is a cause of a mental health issue or a problem that you're having in your life. And the problem with the misconception of it being only young girls that actually self-harm is that it stops people going out and getting treatment or talking to their friends about it or family members. People don't want to bring it up. So I think that that's another misconception that just needs to be, that's just another misconception we need to throw away basically. We just need to get rid of it. We need to stop thinking it. It's not true. It was never true. And that's my opinion on that. Number three, self-harm is just cutting. Now, self-harm is any form of harm that is intentionally done by the person. Now, it can be things like self-sabotage, it can be pinching, it can be punching, it can be causing bruises, it can be causing arguments that end up hurting themselves purposely. It can be, some people can self-harm with things like gambling. Self-harm is not limited to cutting. I think again, that's why it can be quite confusing for people that might be self-harming, for them to either understand and recognise it themselves or go out and ask for help, because there's this idea of exactly what self-harm looks like, and if you feel like you don't fit into that category, then you're less likely to ask for help. But self-harm is any harm that you bring to yourself on purpose. So please, if you do need help and you are self-harming and you need some support or you want to speak to somebody, there is help out there. You can go places like your GP. The mind.co.uk is an excellent website, it really helps. I want to do another video which is all about tips and tricks and hacks on preventing self-harm or trying to minimise the self-harm that you might be doing, or distracting as well. So if you want to see that, then please like this video or comment down below and I will get that out as soon as possible. Number 4, self-harm means suicidal. Now, somebody who's self-harming, it does not mean that they are suicidal. I think there can be a misconception that if you are injuring yourself, especially when it does come to cutting, and especially depending on areas and things like that, it can seem like that person may be suicidal, but it does not necessarily mean the person is suicidal. Self-harm often is used as a coping mechanism because the person or individual that's self-harming doesn't know how to express the emotions or release the emotions that they're feeling, and they use self-harm because it gives them temporary relief. Or if, say for example, someone's depressed and feeling really numb, it can almost give them the false feeling of physically feeling instead of emotionally feeling. Some people do it because they feel inadequate or like they deserve it. A lot of mental health illnesses cause people to self-harm due to almost a punishment. Say for example, in eating, disordered eating and eating disorders, if the person believes that they haven't done XYZ as much as they should have done or as little as they should have done, then they can then end up self-harming as a way of punishing themselves. So self-harm does not necessarily mean somebody's suicidal. Obviously, if you're worried about someone who's self-harming, you should definitely try to speak to them about it, but also remember not to be judgmental when opening up the discussion, and don't just say you need to stop doing that, because if that person is using it as a coping mechanism, obviously it's not a healthy coping mechanism, but if that's their only coping mechanism at that time, if that's completely taken away from them and they've got no option, then that can then lead to more serious incidents if that person's feeling trapped with no support or help. So it's important that if you are going to support someone, you do it in a healthy and open way. Talk to them about why it is that they are self-harming, try and see if they will seek medical help or speak to a doctor or a charity. And it's important that sometimes it will be little steps to recovery and it won't happen all at once. Don't punish the person if they're trying and then they relapse, because it really is a difficult spiral to get out of, especially if it is that person's only coping mechanism. So then punishing them for relapsing into something where they're already punishing themselves, it just doesn't work. So that is my opinion on that. Number 5 is one of the most important ones, I think, and it is the fact that the severity of somebody's self-harm reflects the severity of their illness. Now, there's a massive misconception that depending on how bad somebody self-harms reflects how ill they are, and this is completely untrue. Somebody could be doing minimal self-harm and be in the worst mental state possible, and there could be somebody who's doing severe self-harm, but in fact they are actually coping quite well. They're using the self-harm as a coping mechanism, but mentally they're not in such a bad place, which can be hard for people on the outside to understand. But it's important to remember this, because if you come across somebody who might be doing what you would perceive as minimal self-harm, and then you don't think because of the severity or lack of severity that they need that much support, or that they're really in such a bad place, then they can slip through the net of the support and help that they need. And also try to avoid labelling the severity of somebody's self-harm. So for example, if somebody has injured themselves, try to stay away from saying things like, oh, it's not that bad, or oh, I thought it was going to be worse, or oh, somebody else's was a lot worse than that, so I'm glad. Because those words to somebody who's in that mindset, all they're going to hear is you're not even good enough at self-harm, or you haven't punished yourself enough, or there's somebody else out there that's punishing themselves better than you're punished. And it might sound crazy to somebody that doesn't suffer with or hasn't suffered with mental health or self-harm, but that is how your brain can make you think when you're ill. So I'd just avoid completely saying anything about the severity of the person's mental health of it, and actually try to figure out what their issues are internally. So just try and get them talking about why it is that they've done it, what are they getting from doing it, how are they feeling, what if they've got any issues they want to talk about, do they think they need to get help, rather than mentioning, even with the best intention, oh, it's not that bad. Even mentioning with the best intention, oh, it's not that bad. How do you get a hearing eye? Oh, things gone. So, thank you for watching this video. That's everything I wanted to talk about for today. Thank you for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you've learned anything or you've got any suggestions or anything you want to talk about, leave it in the comments below. Obviously, keep it positive. We want it to be a positive environment for people to talk. If you want to see the video on tips and tricks of dealing with self-harm or helping someone deal with self-harm, please give this video a thumbs up or comment down below and let me know. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, please follow me. We talk about more mental health stuff over there, and I also have a TikTok with the same name as well. And I hope you're having a lovely day, night or evening, wherever that you are, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!